So let's talk about the big Necrons vs Deathwatch box that's coming this weekend, going through the contents of Kill Team Tomb World and whether or not it's looking like a good deal. Hello and welcome back to Priciest Tactics, where today we're taking a focused look at the Kill Team Tomb World box set. Let's take a look at the price and how popular it's looking, a quick talk through the contents, and whether or not it's looking like an on-paper good deal or not for the things inside it. Kill Team Tomb World is one of Games Workshop's Kill Team Versus style box sets that are largely focused around two squads of new models, and they'll be getting both new rules for Warhammer 40k and Kill Team. The box sets often have a terrain offering, though sometimes it's a much bigger piece than others, and in recent times Games Workshop seems to be packaging other kits in with these as well. Other things to use as non-player operatives in Kill Team, which basically makes the box set a bigger and more expensive one. The box is going up for pre-order on Saturday the 30th of August, then it will be on full sale in stores on Saturday the 13th, provided of course Games Workshop's actually made enough copies of it, which always seems a bit sketchy with these style ones. In the box set, the main two Kill Team offerings are 10 Priciest Deathwatch, a Necron Canoptek Circle squad led by a Geomancer and then basically having 7 Canoptek minions, a standard set of Necron Warriors with their Scarab Swarms for use as the non-player operatives, and then the terrain set in this one is a particularly big and I guess expensive one with the indoor Necron Tomb World terrain, kind of similar to the Gallowdart boarding actions terrain, essentially meaning that you play 40k or Kill Team in an enclosed environment. Usually these box sets come at a solid discount versus buying the individual kits separately, though just given the size and expense of the box set, a lot of people might well be looking to pick things up individually. With the Kill Team pattern at the moment, it looks like the kits will go out on their own when they release the next Kill Team big box, whenever that might be, so you'll be able to pick up Deathwatch individually or Geomancers then. Compared with the vast majority of these Kill Team offerings, the price really is very high indeed, $250 US, which usually equates to around £150 or €190 by Games Workshop's normal translations. I believe that makes it the single most expensive Kill Team box set that they've ever released, even more expensive than Hivestorm, and coming in at around the same price as the Big Leviathan launch box set for 40k 10th edition. It seems that the main reasons that it's quite so much more expensive than some of the rest are the extra kit of Necron Warriors, the Tomb World terrain set, which I think will be quite a bit more pricey compared with the average terrain offering for the Kill Teams, but at least from my rough impressions it looks like the discount in the box set might be a bit lower than normal too. As ever, if you were looking to pick up the box set or any of the other 40k things over the weekend, it's likely worth trying discount retailers first. I've got a whole bunch of channel affiliate ones linked down in the video description, Element Games for 15% off in the UK, Gap Games for 21% in Australia, Fairness Workshop and Toy Snowman in Canada, Wargame Portal for 15% in the USA, and Tash and Geldeep for around 16 to 20 in the EU. Here are the pre-order times where they should go live at those stores: midnight Eastern Time in the USA and Canada, and then 10 through to midday in other places around the world. I'll be honest, my expectations for Games Workshop giving out good supply of these really is not good. The vast majority of these Kill Team Versus box sets have generally tended to sell out in seconds if they have any big demand, and it means that several discount retailers tend to be out of them almost instantly. As a result, I'd probably fall back to the Games Workshop web store if discount retailers do seem to be out of them very fast, as seems likely, though as ever, fingers crossed they make enough supply for everyone to have them. In any case, as always, a big thank you to anyone supporting the channel via those links. Before going through the contents briefly, I was interested to take a look at the rough popularity of the box set. It does look like it is going to be quite a popular one. I did some channel polls and it looks like around about 11% of the Warhammer 40k players watching Priciest Tactics were tempted to pick one up. And as 40k box sets go, that's quite a popular number, maybe similar kind of levels to things like the Space Wolves or Blood Angels launch boxes, and kind of similar to the interest that the recent Saturnine box set had. I don't know if a few people might not be truly computing the price tag of the box that's going to be a bit higher than normal. I did mention it in the poll just to make sure that people were informed about it. But there's definitely good reason for this to be a popular box set. Deathwatch finally getting a Primaris era release is quite big news. They're pretty cool in general and can be slotted into other armies as allies if you want to. And Necrons are a particularly popular and well-collected faction after their big releases in 9th edition. And if you do collect Necrons, there's quite a lot of interest here with 3 different kits all aimed at them. I guess there might be excess interest from the Kill Team crowd as well. If you want the Kill Team with the Kill Zone terrain, then this will be the way to get it for a good few months before it's eventually released individually. As mentioned though, while I feel like demand's that high, unless Games Workshop does decide to make significantly more of these than they have normally for the Versus box sets, seems possible a lot of people might not be able to pick one up, maybe in opposition to say the Saturnine box set for the Horus Heresy, where there was lots of demands, but Games Workshop seems to have produced absolutely loads of them. So everyone who wanted one at the prices got one, and several discount retailers overordered a fair bit. In any case, going through the contents of the box set, first up we have the Deathwatch kill team. They're an update to this at least relatively recent plastic Firstborn one. They were one of the last ones to be released in Firstborn before Primaris became a thing. The box set has 10 Deathwatch, but it looks like they're basically 2 copies of the same 5-man sprue, so I'd guess eventually, maybe several years down the line when they re-release them for 40k, there's a pretty reasonable chance they're sold in 5s again. Each of the operatives basically has the choice between 2 different loadouts and war gear looks, though unfortunately, as confirmed by Games Workshop sprues, there's no generic loadout for the units. You can't just equip them all with bolters or something, which maybe feels like a bit of a shame with the Deathwatch loadout of special issue ammunition being a big thing in the past. Going through the miniatures, here are the multi-builds. There's a Watch Sergeant that can be assembled as a Blade Master with a Xenophase blade. A Gravis Armor miniature, so there's a mixed squad variant with this and a Phobos unit. The Gravis is the heavy of the squad, either getting an Infernus heavy bolter or a frag cannon, though you can assemble him with a heavy bolt rifle and grenade launcher if desired. Nice to see the iconic Deathwatch unique kit making the transition. There's one that you can assemble either as a bolt carbine or as a Hellblaster, the bolt carbine one kind of looking similar to the Incursor's pattern. There's a Phobos Marine that's either a bolt carbine or a Reaver pattern one with a couple of combat blades. The Reaver seems to have a grav shoot. And then there's a dedicated melee specialist, either having one of the Deathwatch heavy thunderhammers or a power weapon and storm shield. Games Workshop reveal the sprues and how they're laid out. So basically in the Tomb World box set, there'd be 2 copies of each of these 3. It was quite fun, they've got quite so much chapter representation on these. They've got at least one shoulder pad for all the big mainstream ones, they're not necessarily all on the sort of Mark 10 Tacticus armor ones, but then they've also got lots of cool successor chapters as well, such as Red Scorpions, Lamenters, and more. They've also got some heads that are vaguely chapter themed as well, such as the White Scar's top knot or the Dark Angel's hooded head, and some fanged ones that could work for Blood Angels or Flesh Tearers. Overall, put together, it means that you can have a squad of 10 different operatives. I feel like the individual poses look quite good, but it's likely to have far less flexibility rules-wise compared with the previous loadouts. Games Workshop confirms they will get an updated 40k datasheet, likely replacing the Firstborn one which will be sent to Legends. I guess it means per 5-man squad you can have a Sergeant with power weapon, heavy thunderhammer, Hellblaster, frag cannon, and a Sergeant or Xenophase blade model. Between that it should be a pretty threatening fun squad with a lot of war gear options at close range. Otherwise, for the Necrons, we've got the Canoptek Circle, basically a kill team retinue for the Geomancer character, plus their 7 Canoptek attendants, 5 Macrosites, and 2 Tomb Crawlers. The Geomancer is one of the previous Necron cryptechs from the lore. We've now got quite a lot of those realised in model forms from 9th edition when the individual subtype ones came out. These guys are also known as alchemists or harbingers of transmogrification apparently, and they're often tasked to work on the stone and maintain the stasis crypts of the Necrons. So I guess the idea is that while the Deathwatch are invading the Tomb World, this one's woken up to repel them and defend the Tomb World without having to awaken all the rest. The model's a pretty fun one. I'd guess that stave is probably a tremor stave, maybe having some sort of characteristics of disrupting or slowing enemies that get near. It's got a nice twisted centipede style body, hovering around a couple of menhirs similar to the Silent King ones, and a funky sort of Necron Egyptian headdress. And apparently this one's a female Geomancer, not that you'd really be able to tell from the model. For the little Canoptek attendants, they have some big plasma sights called Macrosites. These ones I wouldn't expect to have too much threat. It looks like they've got a mini Gauss pistol thing on the top and some long flensing blades. One of them's a reanimator, so it might boost the squad's healing a little bit in 40k perhaps, maybe an extra wound reanimated or similar to that. There's also one that's designated an accelerator. I wonder if that might have kill team rules, but not necessarily 40k ones. I guess it might have some sort of 40k differentiation though, if it doesn't have the Gauss pistol thing. Then there's a little bit of firepower with the Tomb Crawlers. They look like mini Canoptek spiders almost. One's got some sort of twin-linked Gauss weapon at its team. The other one seems to have maybe a trans-dimensional beamer. So the squad will have a little bit of close-range firepower, though it doesn't really feel like they're going to do enough to carry the unit unless they have some really surprising stats. They'll also be getting a 40k datasheet. I'd guess that's to turn up within the next couple of weeks or so. I'll certainly look forward to talking about it on the channel. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the Geomancer is actually locked to the retinue, or whether the retinue can be fielded separately. It doesn't feel like they're going to be a major damage and defense style unit, though maybe they'll be cheap enough for some chaff utility purposes. And will be interesting to see what they do in terms of Geomancer special rules, maybe slowing down a unit or something. Hopefully it's enough to make the core models interesting. Then we've got the Tomb World terrain set, as mentioned kind of similar to the Galliford boarding action style ones. They've got a similar system of open and closed hatchways that you can modify, and the ruin bits are modular, able to slot into those Necron column things at the end, and they've been done in a similar sort of style to the Convergence of Dominion, Necron tech shrouded by crumbling stone. They've given us a few pictures of the terrain pieces. I've also got a bunch of Fallen Ruins and Necron architecture to go not on the walls. I do quite like the banks of Necrons in various stages of preservation along the walls. Lastly, for the miniature contents of the box set, we've got the set of Necron Warriors. These guys just the standard troops for the faction, 3 Scarab Swarms and 10 Warriors. Maybe feeling a little bit filler here, and I feel like most Necron collectors would probably have quite a good amount of them already, just given how easy they were to acquire in 9th edition. The Scarabs are usable enough annoyance interference units in game, particularly if there's cryptex nearby for some OC. The Warriors have been a bit niche in 10th edition. I feel like they're the sort of unit that you really need to build huge around, maybe having Orokin the Diviner giving them some invulnerable saves and stacking the reanimation benefits. Outside of that though, they can be a bit on the lackluster side. The box set also does have some kill team stuff with the data cards and the rulebooks, but here's the rough pricing breakdown of what I might expect the things to cost individually inside this big $250 or £150 box. The Deathwatch kill team, if it is indeed packaged as a 10-strong box like the Striking Scorpions or the Scout Squads, that's likely be $80 or £47.50. That seems to be their standard pricing on these kill teams where they basically have 2 identical 5-man sprues. And as mentioned, I feel like if they repackage them for $40k, they'll eventually be sold in 5s like say the other Eldari Aspect Warriors. Then for the Canoptek Circle, doesn't look like they'd have any other miniatures in that box set, so that'd be $65 or £42.50. That's about the lowest price they tend to charge for any kill teams these days. I don't really think there's much hope of them being less than that, even if the Canoptek minions are kind of small. We recently had an 8-model kill team of more normal human equivalents in the Goremongers be the same price as that. Then for the Necron Warriors, they're already sold individually, £31.50 or $52. And then for the Tomb World terrain set, I've guessed around about $112 or £67.50. That's based on half the cost of the Gallowdark terrain box that Games Workshop sells currently, and as a result it does feel like it dominates the box set a bit in terms of value. This one looks like the single priciest thing that you'd be paying for, and it looks like it'd be costing significantly more than other terrain sets that Games Workshop's put in that, like say the last Tyrannid one. As mentioned, it does have the cards and rulebooks as well, and if you are buying these for specifically playing in Kill Team, obviously they might well have some extra value, though I must admit Games Workshop's pricing on card decks and things always feels a bit arbitrary, and I'm a bit reluctant to really include them at full price in any calculation. Overall though, for the miniature cost alone though, it does still look like the box set would be a theoretical discount, at least compared with if you bought all of these sets separately. Adding together those previous estimation numbers, you get around about $310 or £190 or so. So that equates to the box set essentially being around about 20% off. That's a bit below Games Workshop's more normal theoreticals are around about 30% discount, say on a lot of the Combat Patrol box sets. But if you included the card decks at the full price, or if you have value for the Kill Team rosters, then it does get a bit better. It also could look better if you assume Deathwatch are eventually going to get sold in 5s, and might well eventually cost you more than the $80 for the 10 of them that they are now. Even having said all that though, the discount is a bit borderline if you wanted to get it for the miniatures alone. You really would have to have value for all of these or be able to resell or something. Say for example if you had no interest in that bonus kit of Necron Warriors that came with it, that basically gives you almost no saving if you didn't have an easy way to either resell or split the kit with someone. I'd also bear in mind that the numbers look worse as well if you wind up buying this from Games Workshop directly and you can't get it from one of the discount retailers doing 15% off. As then you'd basically be weighing up full price Games Workshop things versus 15% discounted versions of them when they come out on more general sale a few months later. So while it's packaged together in a big exciting big box, the eventual price that you could pay if you waited 3 or 4 months or so might be exactly the same, and then you'd have the option of only picking up the kits that you want, say if you just wanted the Deathwatch or just wanted the Necron parts. As a result, at least for people wanting the miniatures from a more 40k perspective, this one does feel like it's got some pretty borderline worth, and does kind of feel like a box set that's using timing delay as a selling premium versus people picking up the separate kits. I feel like if Games Workshop released the individual Deathwatch, Necrons and the Kill Team terrain, and they were somewhere near to the prices that I was guessing, you'd probably have a lot of people who would go down the route of getting individual kits as opposed to the whole big box. That's just my guess in any case. Despite a pretty high price tag and maybe slightly slim discount, it seems that people's perception of this one as a good deal doesn't seem to be too terrible. I asked you to rate Kill Team Tomb World and a bunch of the other Kill Team box sets in terms of stars out of 5 for how much value they are, and most of the Kill Team box sets seem to be pretty similar there. Hivestorm, the launch box, tops the chart, but it's kind of similar to Typhon with the Raveners and this Tomb World one, Brutal and Cunning not being far behind, just Blood and Zeal being a little less popular than the rest. It still seems to be a bit of a way off some of the popularity of some of the more recent 40k launch box sets though, things like the Emperor's Children, Space Wolves one, never mind stuff like Leviathan or Saturnine. They generally had some bigger theoretical discounts, so maybe not too surprised to see this one received a bit more mid compared with some. In any case though, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think that Kill Team Toon World is a good deal or not? And are you tempted to pick up the box set at its current price or not? Is the $250 or £150 too much for you? As mentioned, for those trying to get it at discount, then check out the channel's affiliate discount retailers linked down in the video description. Here are the pre-order times if you are trying to get a copy or any of the other Kill Team releases coming this week that Raveners are coming out to. And as ever, a big thank you to anyone using those links if you do happen to pick something up. I'll leave that there for now though. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. And if you'd like to support the channel more directly, Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can also find that linked in the video description. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link's down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.